Doubt and a lack of faith in God can happen for many reasons. Sometimes it's simply just a lack of exposure to the existence of God in our early years. So then when we go into our adult lives, this idea of God just feels really far out there. Sometimes it is actually a tragedy that might have transpired to cause us to question how God could allow such a thing. And it's in those instances that we can really shut off our hearts from God. This one I absolutely have experienced. Other times it's lifestyle, just the things that we're choosing to engage in actually will contribute to us feeling disconnected from God. So no matter what the reason is that one may be struggling with doubts, we can definitely restore our faith. This is entirely possible. And so today we're going to look at some of the things that we can do to help this along. And then at the end of the video, I am going to give you a gift to help your journey and starting to feel closer to God. When I was a little girl, my grandmother used to always tell me to talk to God like he was a person. So my grandma was Catholic, but I never saw her praying with a rosary. I never saw her talking to saints or praying to anyone other than God. She would move around the house and she would just be talking to God all day long. And she is who really taught me how to pray. So since I was a little girl, I believe this really kind of set the trajectory of my spiritual life and the way that I communicate with God. I have just always talked to God like he was a person. So if I'm angry, I have let God know. I have been extremely heartbroken and cried out to God. I ask God for discernment and guidance, especially in my dating life. So I just talk to him about everything. This practice will help you so much in just feeling closer to God. And I know sometimes there are those moments, and I actually have had these moments too, depending on where I was in life, where you're talking to God and it feels like you're just talking to the ceiling, you know, like you're just talking to air. But the more you talk to God and you cry out to him, you tell him everything, no reservations. I do not believe there's a wrong or a right way to pray. I read something where someone said, not to be negative in prayer. I think we can show up to God however we are, that he loves us no matter what. And I'll tell you a story, and I've shared this on one of my videos, I believe, but it's worth sharing again. After my divorce, I was incredibly heartbroken. I was so devastated. And I have this meltdown. Like, I am on the floor, I am screaming at God, and I'm screaming over and over in repetition saying, why can't you talk to me now? Why can't you talk to me now? And my daughter, who was only 5 at the time, comes into my bedroom, and like I said, I'm on the floor and she's eye level with me, and she says, word for word, she says, this is your opportunity to stand up for yourself. And God is Lord, and he is mighty, and he can fight for you. And then she just goes back to normal. I will tell you, my jaw dropped. All the tears that I was crying came to a halt. I just literally believe that God spoke through her, and I've never doubted that. And it did help me at the time. So he hears us. He hears every prayers, Are we going to have those moments every time we pray? No, those moments are rare. Sometimes I don't know that, we have those moments, that there's any guarantee that we will have those kinds of major spiritual moments, but he hears us, and miracles and favor does come over our life when we go to God for everything. Talk to him about everything. Give him everything. And I do absolutely believe this will increase your personal relationship with God. It will increase your faith, and it will just help many, many things in your life. So the Bible is a living, breathing book. And I never understood this before. I would hear people tell me that. But the Bible was really hard for me to understand. I would go to read it. I would even sometimes feel like myself was dozing off. And so everybody would say, go read his word. This is him. You need to go into his word. And this experience did not change for me until I started doing a couple things. So I want to share that with you, because I will tell you, all those people that would tell me to go to the Bible and that it was alive, it was his word, you will get to know him through the Bible. I totally see why they said this. So what I've done to change my experience with the Bible and going into his word is I will actually follow along with a pastor on YouTube that does verse by verse teachings. The one I absolutely love is Gary Hamrick. I don't even feel a need to go to anyone else. Sometimes I will if there's maybe something that he didn't answer for me, and I will seek somebody else out, but he's really versed in the history of the Bible. He's so knowledgeable in it. And so I love that. I'm such a nerd and I love research and I like to know the background story of everything. So he will go verse by verse, explain the meaning. He'll tell you life stories so that you really understand. But then he even tells you this background of the history. So he's really great. So I will have my Bible. I always pick a book at a time is what I typically do. And then I will put that in the search engine on YouTube with his name. And there's everything I've ever put in there, he always comes up. So then I will read along, or I'll listen, I'll have notes, I'll take notes, and then I can pause to check my own wording from my Bible just to read it as well. And this is how I do a study with him. And I have learned so much, and I feel like this has made me feel so much closer to God. There's stories in there that I know that I've heard about, but I never really understood them. And oh my goodness, being in his word in that way and really understanding, I mean, they can just give you so much guidance for your own life, some of these stories. So I have really gotten a lot out of being in his word, and I'm telling you, it will, if you do this, if you make like a daily spiritual routine, this is what I have found, a daily routine. Actually, I found this with anything that you're trying to achieve in life. If you want to get strong at it and really matters to you, if you're really like, I would like to feel more faith to God, I am telling you, if you do it daily and you put it in your schedule as a non-negotiable, it will truly change the game. It will shift so much in you. And so then his word will truly speak to you. So I highly recommend surrendering any reservations you have about reading the Bible. And like I said, that's the way that I do it. So for any of you that struggle with that, it truly does help. And I encourage you to make it a non-negotiable, and it will change your life. I promise. One of the things that can really impact our relationship with God is definitely lifestyle. So there have been stages in my life where I was going out more and drinking, and it was during those times that I was more disconnected from God. Drinking not only can make you make very poor choices in that moment, that it also, as a byproduct, takes you even farther away from God. But the next day you're tired. Nobody wants to, be intentional about prayer and talking to God when they're recovering from a hangover. And so, just looking at our lifestyle, pornography, strip clubs, things like that is not where you're going to find God, and it will pull you. Lustful spirits can pull you really far away from God. So these are just things that we need to look at. There's, so many things in our lifestyle that can disconnect us from God. We know if it's doing that or not. So just looking at your lifestyle can be a really big game changer in increasing your faith and getting you closer to God. If you are more of a logical thinker and are just wanting more concrete evidence on the existence of God, I highly recommend that you read the book, The Case for Christ. This is by a man named Lee Strobel. He was an atheist and a journalist when he goes on this quest to write this book, The Case for Christ. So how this begins is he was married and his wife becomes a Christian. And he's like rolling his eyes like, great. He goes, there goes my fun wife when she becomes a Christian. But later on, he starts noticing these subtle changes in her character. And then this puts him on this quest to looking at the existence of Jesus Christ, but not just the existence. He goes deep into his death, the resurrection, all of this, and he asks questions that an atheist would ask, and a skeptic, and somebody as a journalist, he dove deep and researched all of this. So they did a book, they did a movie, and then actually I'm gonna link a 16-minute video in the description box where it's him and he's just going over the evidence in 16 minutes. But he not only gives evidence for his existence, his crucifixion, the crucifixion, that he was actually dead, and then that he actually gets the evidence that he did in fact rise from the dead. And so, it's amazing. But anyways, so that is, if you are open to it and you're looking for faith, but this is a hard one, just really believing in the existence of God and in Jesus, this is such a good book to delve into. So right now, let's look at what some of the scholars do say, though, together as far as the existence of Jesus. No matter how disconnected you might feel from God, if you seek Him, things will eventually shift. It says in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8, that faith is actually a gift that's given to us from God. So we can actually ask Him for help with this. And speaking of gifts, in the description box below, I'm going to link an 8-day guide to help you to get closer to God. Thank you so much for being here. If you like this video, please click the little like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It truly helps me out. I hope you guys have the most wonderful day. God bless.